Hello YouTube, Nick Borlo here. Happy belated Chinese New Year! I've been waiting to make this video for a while now, but I was waiting for a few cars to arrive, so that's why it got delayed by a little bit. But anyhow, here we are. This year is the year of pig, so I have tried to gather everything that resembles a pig in my home. We have Poogie from Monster Hunter, and we have the Hog Rider from the Clash of Clans. The year of pig is supposed to be a very lucky year for everyone. It is the last zodiac out of the 12. And this year, the new Spider-Man anime won the Oscar, in case if you didn't know. And do you know why? It is because...
Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does. Can he swing from a web? No, he can't. He's a pig. Look out, he is a spider.
And that's why. And same as before, I will be doing a small giveaway at the end of this video, so if you're interested, please stay tuned. Now, come over, let's check out my binder. Okay, before we start, let's quickly review the rules. To classify it as a misprint, it has to look pretty different than how it usually looks. And we already talked about name misprint, as well as picture misprints. Today, we're talking about everything else. And lastly, I will still apply this pricing grid that I generally use, and it will appear on the upper right corners throughout the whole video. And if you're ready, let's move into the binder. First, we have this Gym Knight Phantom Quartz. As you can see, that the text here is a little double printed. This is actually a pretty common one you can find in a lot of places. Next, we have this Toon Mermaid and this M Warrior #1. Really nothing serious, but if you look at the serial number here, they are just a little printed low, so they're kind of on the border of the box there. Next, we have this German Book of Moon. They have a creature swap text, because I do not speak German, so I put a actual German creature swap right next to it, so you can see that the texts are actually the same between the two. And here I have a very awesome Monster Reborn that does not have the attribute printed on it. Shout out to Chaos Soldier for trading me this card. And here I have the Italian Champion Pack 2, the Morphin Jar. As you can see, this card is printed with 3 levels as opposed to being level 2. And lastly here, I have this very famous Fusion Monster that does not have the Fusion type there, it just says Zombie. Also pretty common as well. Next, we have these reverse foils. So all the early secret rares had these reverse foil errors, where usually the reverse foil goes diagonal from the bottom left to top right. But as you can see, all these cards have the foil going the other way. They don't add a significant amount of values to the cards because they were pretty common. I believe a lot of the packs that came out of the collector tins had this type of error. And my collection here is also not complete because I wasn't purposely looking for them. The only thing that I was really curious about is the Toon Blue Eyes White Dragon. It is rumored that there is a reverse foil version of that card existing, but I have never seen a photo of it. If you have seen one, I would love to see it. Next, I have a even, less valuable type of misprints. This is called the foil bleed. As you can see, you can kind of see the foil, the secret rares all over the card because they were supposed to only show in the box itself. As you can see, these two cards I have on the side are very, very heavily bleeded. The whole card is basically shining. And down here I have a first edition Yata Grasu. They can see the foil is bleeding as well. And here the Gemini Elf, also foil bleed. Down here I have a Lord of D and this Drill Droid. You can see the card is super, if I find the right angle, you can really see the shine on the entire card. So yeah, I don't specifically collect these, but sometimes along with some trades, I will get a few, so here are the ones that I have. Next, it gets into one of my favorite categories in this particular set. It is the Shifted Eye of Anubis. This totally fits into the other because it's not on the picture or on the title. First up, I have a bunch of them from the early set Magic Ruler. As you can see, these are all from the same print because the eye is shifted to approximately the same location. Same here, more cards from the Magic Ruler set. And then after that, I have some more from the Magician's Force. These are probably not from the same print run because you can see the eye is in slightly different locations, kind of jumping all over the place. So they really kind of messed up that pack. And I have some other, older pack as well. But you can see the eyes are all in very interesting locations. Here is one of my favorite part of this particular collection. It is the old starter deck Joey with the eye shifted for the entire deck. The shift are usually only applied to the common ones. This Ultra is actually from the exact same deck, but because they're printed on totally separate sheets, there is no error for anything that is Ultra or Super in this set. As you can see here, I have the entire first edition Joey deck with the Misprint. It is not exactly correct to say that I have the entire deck because as you can see here, between number 22 and number 30, I'm missing a whole bunch of cards in the middle. If you have anything from this particular set that is happen to be what I'm missing, please let me know. I would love to complete this set one day, even though I know it's extremely unlikely. Anyhow, here is the rest of the deck. It's so cool when you can have the whole deck right next to each other with the same print. As you can see, anything that is Super does not have this print, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would love that scapegoat. And here on the corner, I have an extra copy of the Just Dessert, but the eye is shifted to a different location, so there must be another deck out there that have a different kind of shift. Also, I just want to point out that I happen to know somebody who also have the starter Yugi deck that have the exact same shifting error. Here's are some photos. As you can see, that the shift is pretty much in the same location as the Joey deck. So my guess is there's also a Kaiba deck out there that have this shift. If you own one of these decks, please show me some photos. I would love to see them. And also my friend here who owns the Yugi deck is also missing a few cards as well. So if you happen to know where they are, please give us a shout out and I would love to point you to this guy. Okay, and next we have these secret, super, or ultra rare cards that have virtually no Eye of Anubis. You can see there's a tiny bit trace of it. If you look at some angles, you can see the shiny of the Anubis. Otherwise, these cards all don't have it. The middle is one of my favorites, the Legend Blue Eyes Monster Reborn, that have no Anubis and no imprint either. Some cards that have no Anubis will actually have an imprint. Let me see if you can see it. Yeah, can you see there's like a little box here? Whereas this Monster Reborn have no box. So I guess it's kind of like the name misprints where some have imprint and some don't. Yeah, these cards also do not have an Anubis as well. Here I have some Ultra cards that do have the shift. You can see the Anubis is kind of in all different places. These are all from the Duelist Saga. Same here, and more here. Once again, these shifting Anubis does not make the cards super valuable. I just happen to have a large collection because I had a few chances to grab them, a bunch at a time. I do like it though, because it is a very interesting kind of misprint. Oh, here we have actually another structure deck. This is the Dragon Collide starter deck. The same as always, the 2 Ultra and 1 Super does not have any error. But as we move on to the rest of the deck, you can see the Anubis is shifted all the way to the top right corner. And the same thing applies to this entire deck. Even though this is not a first edition deck, I still love it because the degrees of the shift is much larger compared to the Joey deck. Yeah, that's pretty much as far as the shift can possibly go, unless you can move it to the top left corner. Yeah, that's the entire deck. And down here I have some similar shifts, but not from the deck, right? This is the advanced ritual art in both English and German language. and you can see they both have the same, pretty much the same level of shift. So I guess this set tend to have the same error, or maybe they were printed together. I don't really know if this is the Euro print or not. Actually, I guess it is. No, it's not. Anyway. And down here I have, two more cards. This one is shifted even further to the left. And this card, the Anubis, is barely there for the Gladiator Beast Darius. And here, two more cards from the Duelist Saga. The shift, I don't know if you can tell, but there is like a tiny trace of the Anubis. If you go to a certain angle, you can still see the, the authentication text on it. So those are definitely a Anubis symbol, but they're just shifted all the way outside of the card. And down here I have a Grand Horn of Heaven and a Void Trap Hole, both from the PGL3 pack, and they're shifted all the way to the upper left corner. Love them. Okay, next, still related to the Anubis, I have some slightly more rare misprints. This is the double Anubis. Here I have a Cyber Esper. As you can see, there are two Anubis printed onto it, even though one was not very clear. And here I have a Big Eye, same thing, two Anubis box right next to each other. And here I have the Queen of Oblivion, same thing, two Anubis on the same card. I know there are even crazier ones out there with, 3 or even more Anubis on the same card. I don't have one, but those are extremely cool as well. And down here I have a big core with two Anubis as well. As you can see, both, legit Anubis eyes. Here I have the Firestorm Monarch, same thing, two Anubis. And here I have a Wee Witch with two Anubis, kind of stacked on top of each other. Yeah, that's all the double Anubis cards that I have. These are much harder to find compared to the previous ones. Absolutely love them. And on the right, I have some even more messy ones. I have a Speed Birds that have just, I don't know what happened, but you can see there's a bunch of tiny traces of Anubis left on the card. And then here I have a Dark Bug that they literally just left a whole batch of Eyes of Anubis on it. You can see the whole hollow of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the eye on it. Looks almost like the shape of like a blackberry or something like that. But yeah, very cool. Whole patch on this card. And down here I have two cards from the Legend of Nightmare, the Ghost Destroyer and the Mask of the Accursed, both having some sort of Anubis printing issue. The first one have no Anubis on the bottom, but have a whole, you can see there's a whole stack or a whole batch of Anubis on the upper right corner. So something must have happened during the printing process. The second card as well, there is a legit Anubis on its bottom right, but at the same time, on the left side, you can see there's another patch of Anubis being pressed onto the card. Yeah, so out of my Anubis misprints, these are probably my rarest ones. And next, since we're on the Anubis anyway, I know these technically do not qualify as misprints, but I think they're kind of in the same category. I like it, so I'm going to put them together. And these are the Upper Deck counterfeits, right? For all of you guys who know about this story, I'm not going to tell you about it here. If you don't, please just go and Google Upper Deck counterfeit cards and you'll find a lot of news article on it. But basically, Upper Deck printed a whole bunch of cards that are printed as first edition. I had a silver Eye of Anubis on it. Right beside it, like this is a Dreadmaster. Right beside it, I have a normal one from the legit printing. So this one has a gold Anubis, whereas this one has a silver one. When you have them side by side, you can see that the coloring is a little different. The thickness of the text is a little different. But overall, they look pretty good. On the side, I have another copy of the Dreadmaster as well. And they also, I know there's a whole bunch of these out there, and I honestly don't really know how to differentiate the UD counterfeits versus the real ones. Down here I have some more. I have the Flame Wingman. Both of these are the, Upper Deck counterfeits, but these are ultimate rares. Honestly, they're really, really well made. I mean, they look pretty good. But they both have first edition, and a silver Eye of Anubis. And down here I have the Elemental Hero Aqua Neos, same thing, first edition, and silver Anubis. I actually wanted to put a legit Flame Wingman beside the UDE one to compare, and then when I dig the other one out of my deck, I realized it's also an upper deck counterfeit, so I actually unfortunately do not have a legit one to compare. But anyway, they look pretty good. Here I have a Proto Cyber Dragon, same thing, you know, first edition, silver Anubis. Are these from upper deck? I don't really know. I have no way of really telling. And down here I have the Cyber Barrier Dragon, same thing, first edition, silver Anubis. I think there are a lot of these cards from SOI that have this issue. So, you know, they exist. How many? I don't know. If you have a lot of cards that I haven't seen before that have this kind of error, please show me a photo. I would love to see it. Okay, that's it for my Anubis misprint. Next, we have a mini category. I call it mini category because once again, it is something that I don't really collect, but I just happen to, you know, get them during part of a trade or part of a deal. So these are the cards that have a crimp, that are crimped. What really happened is during the packaging process, the card was just left on the edge of the pack. So when the machine was trying to press the pack to close it, these cards were pressed along with the pack seal. So they have this little weird pattern on top of it, like a wavy kind of design. For those of you who have opened a Yu-Gi-Oh pack before, you will know that the pack has, you know, this really cool texture on it. And yeah, now here's a tour guide. Have the same kind of error. I like it. Not that really major, but it's a first edition tour guide, so pretty cool. Here is a mermaid. This particular card, it appears that when the pressing was happening, the card was actually outside of the pack, so the top part of the card actually has been cut off. I have seen photos of cards that actually have two parts of it appearing in two separate packs, so it is possible that somebody out there have the upper part of this card. And yeah, here's more, all with similar error. Tiny bit here on the bottom, and a bit here on the bottom as well. Like I said, not very rare, actually a fairly common type of things to happen, but people do classify these as misprint, even though it's not in the printing process, it is part of the manufacturing process, so interesting to have. Okay, next we're getting into my favorite part of the binder, which is the test print. These are sheets that are used to test the printing machine to make sure they have enough ink, both before and after a production run. They were supposed to be discarded, but then sometimes they make their way into a pack and then end up in a collector's hand such as ours. The ones you're looking at right here are actually not from Yu-Gi-Oh, but I will be showing you some Yu-Gi-Oh test prints later. Before we go there, I want you to understand why you are always seeing these full colors on every single card. It is because Yu-Gi-Oh printing uses a process known as CMYK. What do they stand for? Well, here is a short lesson.
CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and key, which is black, and should be used for anything that is printed with ink. CMYK works by starting with a lighter page, usually white, and then layering each color together until the final image is produced. This image is made up of tiny dots of either cyan, magenta, yellow, or black. The bigger the dot, the more that color is represented, and the more colors that overlap, the darker the section of image will be.
Okay, so now that we understand the CMYK printing process, let's look at some actual test prints from Yu-Gi-Oh! First up, we have the most common of the test prints, which is a common test print that have the cyan, magenta, yellow, and key lined up in the normal order. This is, if you like test prints, this is the easiest to find online. They're not hard to find and they're not very valuable. And slightly harder to find is here we have a reverse. So it goes from key, yellow, magenta, back to cyan, right? And just to prove that this is in reverse order, you can see the Yu-Gi-Oh card is placed in the normal fashion. So this is a reverse one. Slightly harder to find, but not really that rare. Next, we have these common ones, but with the Eye of Anubis printed on it. I know it might be a little hard to tell, but the first one is just, once again, the CMYK, but with a silver Anubis on this card. And right beside it, we have the same CMYK common card, but with a gold Anubis on it. Yeah, the card is hard to tell, but when you see them side by side, you can see the color difference. And then in here we have a very interesting card. As you can see that it looks just like a normal test print, right? A normal CMYK, and you have a gold Anubis on it. But this card actually is double-sided, which is really interesting. There's no Yu-Gi-Oh back as not other test card are. I haven't really seen a lot of these out there. I'm not really sure if they are rare or not. If you know more stories about it, please let me know. And next we have the first edition common prints, right? First we have common version that has a first edition on it, but no Anubis. And here we have two common test prints. They have both the first edition and kind of like a broken version of the Anubis. It's like they try to print it on it, but maybe the color surface is not properly prepped, so the sticker didn't really stay. Nevertheless, you can see a trace of that as well. These are just my knowledge of the common test prints. I do know for a fact that there are extremely rare versions of these cards out there that exist that are actually having a horizontal stripes instead of the vertical stripes. I think both Chaos Soldier and Misprint Prince have them. I'm just going to show you a photo of it for your reference. These are super hard to find. And in addition to that, Chaos Soldier also owns a pair of these common cards that actually have a hollow image on it. I think one is Acid Golem and one is the Hyper Librarian. These are both from the RUD deck, and they're super hard to find. Yeah, like these are, I don't know, to my knowledge, probably the rarest of all test prints. Yeah, if you want to check it out, go to Chaos Soldier's Instagram and you can see a photo of them. Next, we have a bunch of test prints, but like cut out from the Yu-Gi-Oh starter deck. As you can see here, we have 3 cards that have, I would say, like 80% of the cards being the test prints. And on the right side, we have a card that has a white bottom that says Yu-Gi-Oh starter. Very cool. And same as the other ones, this one is also a double-sided as well. So definitely pretty cool. And then I guess as their counterparts, we also have these cards that are 80% of a normal card, and the last part is a test print. And lastly, on the bottom, we just have these normal common test prints. The first one is, they're all double-sided, by the way. These are all double-sided test prints, but the first one have no Anubis or any other symbols on it. The second one, also double-sided, but instead of the Eye of Anubis, it has a huge upper deck logo printed on it. So this might have something to do with this whole upper deck counterfeit, or maybe not. I'm not really sure. And the last one, same thing, double-sided, but instead of one, it has 2 upper deck logo printed on it. So yeah, this is also common test prints, but slightly harder to find. And after that, we're now moving into the hollow region, right? So first on the left side, the most common CMYK. It's just like super rare. I don't know if you want to call these super or ultra, but basically there is a hollow foil on this card. And then right beside it, we have the same in reverse order. It starts with a key and goes back to cyan. And just to make sure that you know that this is a legit print, you can see the Yu-Gi-Oh normal bottom is here. So this is a reverse colored test print. And on the right, I have a slightly more rare one. Unfortunately, you can see it's a tiny bit damaged, but still very cool. This is a reverse super test print that has a first edition printed on it. Very cool. Yeah, because it has a text, I'm not gonna bother showing you the back. It's definitely legit. And down here, I have 2 hollow or super cards. The first one have a golden Eye of Anubis, and it's in the normal order. And the middle one is more rare. It's in the reverse color order, and it has a silver Eye of Anubis. We have these side by side. You can tell one is golden, one is silver. I think this one is a lot more rare. I don't know much about the origin of it. Once again, if you know where it came from, please let me know. And on the bottom, we have discard misprints. These came from newer packs, and it's becoming more and more common to find. First, on the left, we have a common test print with a discard text on it, and in the middle, we have a super test print with a discard on it. I am not entirely sure if it's true, but I have heard from a few collectors saying that the common one is a little harder to find than the super one. Please let me know if that's true or not. And just so you know, this discard print does not only come in these two rarities. I know for a fact that secret rare ones also exist. I don't know if they exist as a single card, but I have seen them in these insane uncut sheets from a collector. I won't disclose who he is, but here is a photo and a video of what he has. I really hope that one day a secret rare discard will show up on the market, and I would love to add it to this slot right here. And just so you know, even for the hollow ones, they do exist in other rarities as well. I know that the discard also exists in the mosaic rarity as well, and I think these ones also exist in other kind of rarity, which is insane. Don't have them. I think Chaos Soldier holds these two as well, so go check out his Instagram. And here we have some test prints that has a border. First, we have a common test print that have a golden Eye of Anubis and a white border. These test prints with a white border are actually significantly harder to find compared to the non-bordered ones. And then on the right, we have this super test print with a border as well and a silver Eye of Anubis. I'm pretty sure these cards both exist in in a way that does not have Anubis as well, because I have seen photos of them. And then here on the right, I have a just a blank card that has the normal black border of a Yu-Gi-Oh card and a golden Anubis. This card is probably one of the most underappreciated card in all of these test prints, because every time somebody posts a photo, everybody just goes back and say, oh, that is not a real one, that's a fake, you can make it with acetone and all the other stuff. I want to stress here, these ones are real. These ones are real. They are real. If anybody ever tried to use acetone, you will know that it's very hard to make the border perfect, because even if you tape up the cards, the acetone will always leak under the tape and will create uneven cutoffs. And then also, in addition to that, there actually is a common variant of this card where the center is just simply blank. Misprint Prince does have a copy, and here is a photo of it. I've never seen one on sale, but this card does exist. And then that card and this one, they're both real. I just want to stress that. Okay, next we're getting into some really rare ones that I have. First up is a secret rare CMYK test print. Secret rare is probably the hardest type of normal. I mean there's like at least more than 10 copies of them out there to find. And as you can see, right, this card actually has a little bit of a like an ink blotch here, but I don't really care. It looks almost like a rose. And believe it or not, even though this one is supposed to be the easiest one to find out of all the secret rare ones, I found this one the last. So I'm very glad to have it in my collection. Normal CMYK secret rare. And right beside it, I have a, once again, CMYK secret rare, but with the Eye of Anubis. This one is supposed to be significantly more valuable than the previous ones, but that one I actually found a long time ago, and I do really treasure this in my collection. And lastly, this is a real badass. This is actually a reverse color order. It starts from Key and goes back to Cyan, so it's a KYMC instead of the normal CMYK. And on top of that, as you can see, it's also a reverse foil secret rare. So this is definitely like the most badass secret rare test print that I have. And once again, just to prove to you that this truly is reverse foil, I'd like to take it out and show you that here is the normal Yu-Gi-Oh back. And just so you know, even if I turn this around, this is still a reverse foil. There's no way to go around that. So this is truly the price of my collection. I do know for a fact that secret rare version of these cards do exist in the reverse foil, but not reverse color, but not reverse foil version as well. Here's a photo, and those are also extremely rare to find. I would love to trade for one if you have one. And then on the bottom, I have these common test prints, but with the secret rare name printed on it. On the left, I have the Tri-Horned Dragon, and then on the right, I have the Gaia the Dragon Champion. So yeah, these ones are also pretty rare as well. I have not seen that many copies out there. I do believe Chaos Soldier owns a pair as well, and that's the only other pair that I have seen on the internet. Yeah, these are the normal Yu-Gi-Oh ones. The next is these Duel Monster ones. These are also test prints, and they all came in all sorts of rarity as well. They came in normal blank templates. They came in, sometimes they have the card printed on it. Here's a Blue Eyes White Dragon and a Dark Magician. I know that these ones come in like different stars, and with other different monsters on them too. I don't know too much about the origin of these cards, so if you do, I would love to know as well. And then down here, I have all these Bionicle, I think it's called Bionicle cuts. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but as you can see, all of these cards are cut in the larger size, in the exact same size as its Bionicle cards, and at the same time, they all have a very distinctive upper deck logo on the bottom right. So it seems like, for some reason, when they were cutting these Bionicle cards, a sheet of Yu-Gi-Oh! Starter deck was inserted into the printing process, and then as a result, some of the packs came out with these. And these are a bit more harder to find because these are all test print version of it. I do have some other non-test print version of the Bionicle cards as well, and I put a normal card here just for comparison, so you can see the size and the location of the Anubis lines up perfectly. So yeah, these are also pretty rare, but not as rare as the secret rare ones, obviously. Other than that, I also have a bunch of blank cards here. These literally are just blank. Like, I think some of these are blank on both sides as well. I'm not gonna bother taking them out because they're not super valuable, but they are interesting nevertheless. I think the top two are just completely blank, whereas the middle ones, I don't know if you can see here. It's hard to see. Let me try to take one out. This middle card here, if you look at a certain angle, there's actually a name imprint on it. I believe one is, Gamma, and one is like Valkyrie, the Magnet Warrior. I don't know if you can see these. Okay, very hard to say. Oh, you can yeah, there you go, you can see it. Valkyrie of the Magnet Warrior. So these actually have a name imprinted on it. So it's pretty cool. I think there's probably the other two cards in this set as well. If you have them, I would love to trade for it. The last one is much easier to tell because the owner really just butchered the card. You can see the card is super dirty, has a lot of these stuff on it, but hey, the positive side is the card name is really easy to see. It's a Ritual Beast, right? It's also a blank card that has name on it. And here on the bottom, I have some blank cards that have Eye of Anubis on it. I do not believe that these cards can be manufactured or produced using any techniques. Like, you cannot use acetone to take off top layer of the card, so these are legit misprints as well. And then in the middle, I have a really cool barcode misprint. I don't really know exactly what this means. I believe I've seen that on the internet somebody tried to scan this barcode and the barcode says something like discard or replace or something like that. But as you can see that this card actually do have a hollow, kind of like a hollow shiny surface to it as well. Yeah, there you go, you can see there's a shine on it. So it's not a common card, it's actually a hollow card that have barcode printed on top of it. And it does have the authentication Eye of Anubis printed on it to show that it is legitimate. I do know for a fact that this card also comes in other rarity because I know a collector who owns a star foil version of this card. Here's a photo. Man, this card must worth a fortune. It's something I can only dream of. So I'll just keep on dreaming. Very beautiful card. Okay, that is all the test print that I have. Next, we're moving on to these demo cards, right? It's in my view, it's a kind of test prints as well, but they're different. Apparently, what happened is in some of the events that were held in Europe, there were actually a lot of side shops or side events where the staff were actually trying to teach new players how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And that happened right when these link summons occurred. So they were teaching them using these demo decks. They looks just like a normal card with the same text, same font and everything. The only difference being there is no holo, no super, no ultra in this entire deck. Every single card have a huge demo printed across the middle. And on top of that, there is no Eye of Anubis, just a little gray square where it is supposed to be. So these cards were supposed to just for new players to learn how to play, and I think at the end of the event, they were supposed to be recycled, but I guess a whole bunch of them got leaked out because nobody really cared about these after the event. So yeah, it is really cool to have some cards here as well. Here I have 4 cards from the English set, the Mirror Force, and 3 of the Link Summon cards, Decode Talker, the Honeybot, and Link Spider. And very luckily, I was able to find a whole deck in French as well. So here is the entire demo deck going from the first Bitron all the way down. Like I said, these are technically not misprints, but similar to misprints or the test prints, they're not supposed to flow into the market. So it is definitely cool to have a deck collected. You can see this particular binder holds a few decks in here. That's why it's actually pretty full. I do believe these also exist in other languages as well. Like there are like I think Italian, maybe German as well. Yep, that's the full deck. And we're pretty much at the end now. And since we're talking about demo and discards, here are a few more left. First up, we have these two cards that have a, that have Upper Deck logo printed on it. The first one has a golden one. You can see these are actually like a giant patch of kind of like Eye of Anubis, but in the shape of the Upper Deck logo as well. And down here we have the removal trap that have the Upper Deck logo shown both here and here. I believe some mentioned that these also came from the Upper Deck counterfeit era. I'm not exactly sure what happened to these and why they end up here, but you can see these are all square cuts and do not have the normal Eye of Anubis on the bottom right either. They might not be real, they might be fake or counterfeits, but I think they're both pretty cool to show in a collection as well, so I kept them. And here I have two sample cards. As you can see, even the sample is printed in slightly different font, but I believe it is because they were used for different reasons. The first sample card is actually very well known. It's a Simon Skull. As you can see, the text, the font and everything is printed properly, but I don't want to take it out right now, but you can see the surface of the card is more shiny. This actually resembles a Japanese version of the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And these cards were actually used for window displays when the first starter deck Yu-Gi initially came out, and they were just not meant to be played, but more like a display of what the cards were supposed to look like. And then this Summon Skull is used in North America, whereas this other one, this Claw Reacher, is used in Europe, I believe. It's actually a first edition as well. As you can see, the Eye of Anubis does exist, but the sample was printed in a different font. So yeah, it's really cool. I think there's another card in the European version as well. I don't have that one, but this is a really good one to have in your sample demo card set. And last but not least is my super rare, I don't know how to pronounce this AFWERPEN cards. These are also, I would classify them as test prints, because I think this word, even though I cannot pronounce it, is supposed to mean discard in French. And here's a whole bunch of different cards that I have this printed on top of it. The common thing about these cards is that they all usually do not have the proper foil on it. For example, this Fog King is supposed to be ultimate rare, but you can only see there's some trace of the ultimate rarity on the side of the card, nothing on the face of the card. And second of all, they do not have a title as well. There's no name printed on these cards. And then in the middle, I have this relatively rare template card. I think it's for a ritual monster. There's no text, no picture, no name, but it does have the Eye of Anubis to authenticate this card. And you can see there is 2 rows of the ultimate rare foils on the side as well. So, this card is definitely the best one out of this whole set. But in general, these cards are all pretty hard to find. Like, I've been looking for a long time, and these are the only 5 that I have been able to collect so far. So yeah, that's kind of it. That's the end of my 3rd binder. I really do hope you enjoyed it. And the same as before, you definitely have seen something that I don't have before, and I don't have a lot of really cool cards. So please leave me a comment, show me a photo. I would love to see it. Okay, and it's now the moment that you're waiting for, the red pockets. Unfortunately, I could not find any misprints that have a pig on it, but recently I've seen a lot of people showing interest in this common test print that have a discard text on it. So today I'll be giving away up to 2 common discard test prints. If you're interested, please see the rules. Okay, so the rules are pretty similar to last year. Basically, you need to be a channel subscriber before the draw in order to be eligible. And then to enter, all you have to do is post a comment under the video about your favorite misprint. The entry is limited to 1 entry per person. And the deadline for the entry will be March 31st, 2019 at midnight. That is a Sunday. And a video will be posted the following weekend to show the draw process. I think the draw process I used last year was pretty fair, so I'll be using the same drawing process this year as well, and the winners will be contacted for mailing information afterwards. Since the prize card I'm giving out this year is a bit more valuable than last year, I'll be asking for a higher number of entries. By the time of the deadline, if there are at least 38 unique entries, then I will put 1 copy of the common discard test print into the draw process. If the unique entries reaches 76, then an additional copy of the discard test print will be added to the draw. And last year we only gave out 2 prize cards, so I think that should be sufficient this year. Even though it's very unlikely, but just to avoid significantly reducing the chance of winning, if we get a lot of comments, the draw will be limited to the first 100 unique entries. That's it. Pretty simple, right? So how many times will I be drawing?
When I've seen the film now twice, and...
Okay, that's it. As always, I'll be looking forward to your comments and messages, and may the Spider Pig luck be with you. I'll see you next time.